Ugh. Hey guys, what is going on? And today I'm going to be doing a story time. I know there's a lot of story times out there, and I've watched some and they are painful, but I can guarantee you this is going to be a bunch of unique videos that I post up on here, mainly for my own benefit to remember the interesting things I have come across in my life. For the people that actually are involved in these stories, I'm going to change their names up. So hopefully I'll remember the nicknames I've given them, because obviously I want it to be confidential. I don't want to bait anyone out. But I hope you guys enjoy because these stories they're wild, so wild. So actually let's begin. So this story takes place about 2 years ago, with a girl that I used to work with. We'll call her Abby. Now this girl was very quiet. She was timid. She wasn't very sociable. She didn't go out much. So I was trying to, boost her in the right direction. Anyway, so I suggested, Tinder. You know, everyone's done it. Everyone's done it. And eventually I convinced her to get Tinder. And she was like, I'm ready for a boyfriend. I was like, okay, fair play. Get Tinder and just see how it goes. Within a week, to my surprise, she's like, look at my Tinder. And I go on there and 250 matches and messages on her actual account. I'm just like, how is this the same person? Like this, a week ago, this girl was like worried to go out, and now suddenly she's got all these people she's messaging. I'm like, okay, yeah, I respect that. Anyway, she was like, the reason I've told you this is because I have been talking to this boy for a while, and we'll call him Jacob, and I have a boyfriend. Little did she know what she was getting herself into. So I was like, how long have you been on Tinder? Because I'm sure it's only been a week. She's moving fast. So she's like, yeah, we've been talking for a week and he's now my boyfriend. I'm like, okay then. And I was like, okay, tell me what he's like, what you're up to, you're going to meet him, all this kind of thing. And she was like, yeah, I'm actually going to go up to, we'll say Liverpool, and meet him. I was like, okay, make sure you go with someone, I want you to be safe because there are some pretty dodgy people out there. Anyway, so the date arrives when she's supposed to go up and meet this Jacob. So she goes up to Liverpool with her cousin. I'm like, look, make sure you tell me everything that's going on because, I'll be there in a heartbeat if something goes wrong. So she gets there and she's like, oh, to my surprise, he hasn't arrived. I mean, everyone could have seen that one coming. So I was like, okay, do a bit of shopping, turn the car around, just come home. There's no point worrying over someone that hasn't turned up, first meet, So she's like, you know what, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to message him and tell him that this isn't going to happen. So she messaged him and no response. I was like, typical. I was like, look, what did you actually say to him? She's like, look, I've told him I'm not here for all this kind of rubbish. So I was like, wow, maybe she's actually got some sense in that small little brain of hers. So she rocks up, she's about to drive home, and I get a phone call. And I'm like, are you okay? And she's like sobbing. So I'm just like, yo, what has actually gone on? And she was telling me how this Jacob had actually arrived at the station at Liverpool. And I shouldn't laugh because if it was real, it would be pretty messed up. He arrived, and because she had told him that it was, we're going to ignore that voice crack. Fuck. Alright, I'm good. So because she had told him that it was not going to happen, he got really upset about it and decided that he was going to threaten suicide. Now obviously in any normal situation, you shouldn't, mental capacity and stuff like that, it should all be taken seriously. But because I know the outcome of this video, I am happy to laugh at anything that happens. Because at the end of the day, it all turns out to not be real. So instead of being normal and saying that I'm going to go take some pills and hang myself, I'm going to cut my wrists, He decides it's going to be a very efficient way of killing himself to put up a bit of glass and cut his legs. Oh, oh, you heard me right. He cut his legs with glass. Painful. Efficient, no. If you're going to do it, you do it properly. This made-up boy decided it would be a cool idea to have everything to say he's going to cut his legs for a bit of character development for this man that barely existed. Anyway, she's like, oh my god, he's been rushed to hospital, and I'm going to go up there and meet him tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, let her do her thing. I say, alright, make sure when you go up there tomorrow you tell me what's going on and don't go up there alone. To my surprise, she decides that the next day she was going to go up there to the hospital in Liverpool herself. And I was like, every hour I'm going to ask what's going on, make sure you're safe, you know, being a good friend. And she tells me that she's there and she's waiting. I'm like, okay, have you gone in and asked where he is and blah blah blah. This silly cow thought that waiting in the car park in her car would somehow lead to her meeting him in the hospital bed. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to realise when someone's in hospital, you've got to go in and ask where they are to see them. So she told me because he cut his legs, he's in the ICU, which is like top of the top care when you're in a dangerous position of life. I don't think cutting your legs cuts it. So she was convinced that he's done that much damage to himself that he'd end up in the ICU and she couldn't see him. So she returned home from waiting all day in the hospital car park. So she goes up there the next day, and I still can't believe this story's true. Like, it baffles me every time. So she goes up there the next day, and she was like, oh my god, his sisters have been messaging me, asking if I'm seeing him and if he's okay, blah blah blah. So I automatically thought, they've only been boyfriend and girlfriend for a week, and he's already told his whole family about her. Something doesn't smell right here, you know. So these sisters of his were saying, oh, he's in the ICU, and, you know, unfortunately can't have visitors. So I was like, look, just go up to the reception. I went, you know his name, you know his second name, you know where he is, you know what happened. Go in there and ask if he's here. Because the hospital would soon tell her if this person never existed. And if she would have done that, this story would have been over in not even 10 minutes. But of course, that wasn't the case. So she goes in, and instead of asking reception, she sits in a chair and waits. I don't even know if this person, if this Abby, has a brain cell. Because she still didn't go up to the reception and ask for this Jacob. If I hadn't mentioned before, this Abby is the girl that is, you know, going out with this Jacob. Day 3 arrives. She's been to the hospital twice and waited in the car park and waited in the reception but on a chair. This time round, I get a phone call and she's absolutely sobbing her eyes out. I'm like, oh, slow down. Tell me what's happened. No, not only had this boy cut his legs, arrived in the ICU, he had now fallen into a coma. And I wish this is where the story peaked. Because I laughed. I was like, there's no way. He's cut his legs and suddenly he's fallen unconscious and into a coma. So his sisters, had told her that overnight he's fallen into a coma. And this Abby still believed everything that she was being told over text by these people she never met. Now I know the people that get catfished are usually a bit gullible, but this story takes the biscuit. The fact I had to watch it all unravel in real life was like literally living inside of a Catfish episode. And I was like, there's no way people this dumb exist. Anyway, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know whether it was possible for someone to fall into a coma after a loss of blood from their legs. Doesn't seem right. I'm not a biologist or a doctor, so what do I know? Anyway, so what happens here is sort of he's now in a coma, and she's obviously heartbroken. She goes home, and I was like, look, have you even asked the reception whether he's there or not? And she's still like, no, I haven't gone. So day 4 arrives. Oh my god! I was like, what? He's woken up. What do you fucking mean? What do you mean he's woken up? She decided, well, the sisters had then texted her and been like, look, Jacob has woken up. He actually now has a brain tumour. So he's cut his legs, he's fallen into a coma, woken up the next day, so literally just asleep. That's basically a nap. And he had woken up with a brain tumour. So obviously this Abby was absolutely distraught because, if you believe this sort of thing, so many emotions you must have gone through. From the boy you never met, to suicide, to coma, to brain tumour. It's a lot to take in. So at this point I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter what I say, this girl is not going to believe anything that I tell her. So she texts her sisters and they're like, look, he's just woken up, you can't see him, wait until next week. So this whole week she's absolutely freaking out. She's like, I just want to see him, I just want to go up there. And her mum had actually messaged me and gone, look, do you know what's going on with this Abby? And I was like, well, this happened. She goes, well, she's been going up there during the night and just waiting inside the hospital, like just waiting outside. Not only had this girl believed all this, but she'd actually also caught up a speeding ticket, flying up to Liverpool in the middle of the night, just on that off chance he decides he's going to walk out, or the off chance she's going to teleport inside of his room. I think she needs a check. Anyway, so a week goes by and she's like, look, I'm going to bring my cousin up there, we're going to go up to the reception and we're going to find out what's going on, because even her cousin didn't believe her. Anyway, it then come to my awareness that her cousin had a house and a fiance and had left all that for a man or a boy she'd met online. This boy she'd met online just so happened to be this Jacob's best mate. So obviously her cousin believed this person was real because her now boyfriend that she left her whole real life for had some sort of contact with this Jacob. But she still didn't believe it. She was like, look, we're going to go up to the hospital, we're going to find out what's going on and see when we can actually meet this Jacob. So they go up there and they're sitting there inside the reception. Again, they both didn't ask the receptionist if this Jacob was there or where he was. So they're sitting there and they'd been there for a few hours and the cousin was getting a little bit miffed. And I'll call this girl Lily. So Lily was getting a bit miffed and was like, look, Abby, this person obviously doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not happening. You need to sort it out. So she's sitting here absolutely slating this Jacob. And this Abby then received a message saying, you're not welcome here. You're not allowed to come and see Jacob. You're not allowed to be here. You're not welcome at all. So this Abby was like, what's going on? Supposedly, the two sisters had heard her cousin and her slating this Jacob for not being real. I mean, what was the chances they were just coming down into the same reception hall to come pick up this Abby and Lily to go see Jacob finally, for it all to go wrong? Anyway, this Abby and Lily had a massive falling out. They were like, look, what? You've ruined my chance to see Jacob finally. He's woken up and he's got a brain tumour. I might not be able to see him for long, blah, blah, blah. And they argued and they hadn't really spoken. It then come to, I keep saying my awareness, it's not the word I'm looking for, my attention, that the cousin had never met this guy online. At first I was under the impression that she had met this person online, and that's why she left her house and her fiancé. But she hadn't at all. She'd left a real life for someone that had promised her things over text. She chose pixels over a real relationship. Obviously the stupidity runs in the family because they're both as gullible as each other. So the cousins and this Abby had obviously not stopped talking, and they were like arguing. The sisters of this Jacob had told this Abby that she was no longer welcome. When this Abby's mum had come up to me and said, "Look, I need to tell you something that's been going on, and you know, I'm wondering whether they're being catfished." Oh, blow me backwards. Are you sure? I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe it for a second. I was almost convinced that this was all real. I was like, no way. Of course, you dumb bin. Anyway, so the mum had then told me that there was a friend of this Lily's, the cousin, that was gay and was really after a relationship with Lily. And Lily was like, "Look, I don't swing that way. We're friends, and that's it." So this Lily had been like talked to by a friend and was like, you know, this friend was really trying to get with her, and Lily just wasn't having any of it. But the mum was convinced that this Lily and this girl, that there was something more going on down the line. So I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to have to look into this a little bit further. Because without any evidence, this Abby was not going to believe a word that I said. Anyway, so we sat down, me and Abby, and I was like, look, you need to seriously look at what's going on, because it is not real. She was getting herself so worked up, and I actually felt bad for the girl. I was like, if all this was real, of course I'd be distraught. But the fact it wasn't real, and it was so obviously not real, this girl was just gullible. So we done a bit of digging, and the girl that was after her cousin, we get this right, just so happened to have made a fake account of the cousin's boyfriend. Now I mentioned before that they had never met. So Abby's cousin, Lily, had left her whole real life to go with this other guy, this Jacob's mate. Just so happened to be the girl. So this girl made a fake account of a guy, knowing everything about Lily's life, wormed her way straight into her life, made her leave all her real life, her little family she was building. And she had, because she knew everything that was going on in Lily's life, she was able to make this fake account of this guy and be her friend at the same time and worm her way out of a relationship. So this girl was actually getting everything she wanted from Lily because they were sending nudes, they were exchanging all sorts of personal details. So this Lily was being catfished by a girl, pretending to be a boy. So theoretically, Lily's mate, not only was her mate, but was her boyfriend as well. So she low-key got what she wanted because she was able to, you know, get sensitive information out of her as well as friend information. So she was in the loop 100%. And the fact it gets wilder is absolutely crazy, because we had then found out that this girl was also Abby's boyfriend. On top of that was also the two sisters. So Lily's mate was Lily's friend, boyfriend, her cousin Abby's boyfriend, her cousin Abby's boyfriend's sisters, all in one go. This girl was leading a 5-way life and didn't even break a sweat. She had it easy, they believed her. And what makes it worse, and I was trying to link up everything, I was thinking, well, how, in that case, if they were all the same person, how did this girl know about them being up at the hospital, and how did they overhear them squabbling? I was like, surely this girl hasn't arrived at this Liverpool hospital to find out, listen in. It just so happens that all along, the girl that was catfishing both Abby and Lily was the damn receptionist at the hospital. So even if Abby had gone in and asked for this Jacob, the receptionist would have said, oh yeah, he's in the ICU, because it's me! I'm sitting in the chair! And she would have seen everything going on. She would have seen this Abby in the car park. She would have seen Abby sitting in a receptionist waiting, still texting this Jacob at the same time. And this girl was doing her job and being Jacob and Lily's boyfriend and Jacob's sisters all in one go, as well as working. This girl did not get paid enough. I couldn't have kept up. So I was like, there's no way. I can't believe it. But because Abby was so obsessed, she did not believe me or her mum at all, and was completely divided. She was so in denial that she didn't believe a single word of what was said, even though the proof was literally right there. Anyway, so me and Abby had like a bit of a falling out, because I was like, you need to listen to me. If you don't believe me and your mum over this person you've known for like 2 weeks now, then there's seriously something wrong. And the fact it keeps getting even worse. So, knowing how gullible this Abby is, the receptionist girl, the Jacob and the Lily's boyfriend and the sisters, decided, oh, let me throw a spanner in the works. What did she do? Sent a message to Abby as the sisters. I'm so sorry for your loss. Jacob has just died. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean he's just died? He doesn't exist. He doesn't exist. So I thought, oh, finally, this girl knows she's been caught on to and has decided, let me pull the plug and just end it there. The Jacob's dead. No more talking. So Abby's distraught. Like, she's so upset that her boyfriend has gone from suicide to a coma to waking up to being still in the hospital to never meeting to now dead. I mean, that brain tumour worked hella quick. And what made it worse is I then spoke to her mum a few weeks later maybe, and her mum said, oh, what I told you before, it can't be true, because there's been a funeral booked and Abby and her nan are going. What do you mean? So it turns out that the receptionist had decided, oh, let me see how far I can take this. Let me book a funeral, invite as the sisters, Angel, as Abby, and her grandma, who is Angel. That's why I keep getting confused. So this is why she decides she's going to invite Abby and her nan, Angel, to the funeral of Jacob. And they're changed. They are ready to go to this funeral in Liverpool. And bearing in mind from where I am, it's still a good hour away drive plus to get there. They're ready to leave. I can't even believe that people actually believed this. Because the receptionist was like, no way, she's actually ready to go with her nan. Let me just take that spanner out of the wheel. Oh, by the way, Abby, it's the sister speaking. Oh, Jacob's woken back up. What do you mean he's woken up? He's dead. He died. He was in a coma and he had a brain tumour and he cut his legs and he's alive and then he's dead and he's alive again. And there's Abby being completely dumb. Actually believed this. And I wish I could make this story up because it hurts me internally that people that I knew and got on with were this brain dead. Anyway, so I said, look, Abby, I'm not being funny. If you believe this, then we can't be friends, because if you're believing me, like, this person over my word and your mum, please, you need to sort yourself out. So we stopped talking, and I was presumed that she would have come to her senses about, like, oh, he's dead and now he's alive? Wow, that can't be real. Especially after there was a funeral involved, you would have thought, oh my god, I've been pranked. And it's disgusting. It's a disgusting thing to do, like lie about someone dying, let alone then make them alive again. Especially when you're playing on someone so gullible like that, that's really playing on their emotion. Anyway, a few weeks later I sent Abby a message. I was like, look, I know we haven't spoken for a little while, it's a bit sad it's come to this, but you know, how's things? She's like, oh, really good, I'm meeting Jacob today. What do you mean? I was so convinced you were going to believe me. And even worse, this Jacob obviously had died and woken up and was then discharged from hospital a week later. How you can believe this, I don't even know. It baffles me. And what makes it worse, this guy had just left hospital, if this was real, and decided that, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go meet her in her hometown, face to face. Abby turned up. Never guess what happened. He never turned up! Because he's not real! And until this day, we still haven't spoken, because I was like, if you turn up, we can't be friends. I can't even begin to try and explain what's going on. And that is the story of how a girl split up a real life relationship and made a new one to the most gullible girls I've ever met. And the whole idea around this receptionist making this boy Jacob meet Lily's cousin Abby in Liverpool was because that's where she worked and that was the only way she could get close to Lily. So the receptionist was all up here, was all smart, she knew what she was doing. So this whole time she had surveillance on everything that was going on in social, like, friend life and social relationship life for both these people. They were all talking. And right in front of her half the time. She must have been absolutely crying because she saw everything happen, like, before her eyes. And because Lily never wanted to meet this girl as she is, she had to make up a boyfriend for her cousin Abby just to get them close. So she had to make up 3 more personas, Jacob and the 2 sisters, just to get close to Lily. And I mean, if you're the girl watching this, I commend you. That fantastic. I could have planned this for a year and never have come up with the same outcome. It was it's crazy. And the fact this story has taken me almost half an hour to talk about, I've had to wedge the whole month in. But it was fun to talk about because there's so many more stories like this that I can talk about. The fact this is just one, it's exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I really do wish that I was making this up, because every time I tell the story to someone, they're like, no way, you're making it up. I was like, I'm honest, dead honest with you. This story is real. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the first one. I know it was a bit rough with some of the music and the lighting, but also there's things I will improve. So I will be doing another video soon, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And remember, don't trust receptionists. I'll see you guys later.